Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Handloom Talks, the second episode today. Actually, we are here after a long gap, and we propose to be more frequent from now on. Today, we have a special guest with us, and she is Jonali Saikia. She founded Heeya in 2012 with a vision of bringing the rich handloom heritage of the wider Northeast India closer to sari wearers and textile connoisseurs while creating sustainable economic opportunities for women weavers in rural communities. And over the years, Heeya has worked with hundreds of artisans across diverse tribes and regions and has played a catalytic role in reviving several rare and endangered craft traditions through thoughtful design innovation and market-led interventions. Jonali brings about 30 years of experience across the corporate, social impact, and development sectors. She began her career with multinational organizations such as Accenture before moving into the handloom, livelihoods, and women's economic empowerment ecosystem. Jonali has led large-scale programs in women's economic empowerment at some of India's leading non-profit organizations. She also has been deeply engaged in research, policy-relevant studies, and ecosystem development across livelihoods, skilling, and women's workforce participation. She also is a guest faculty at several institutions and various other academic, corporate, and development sector forums. Welcome this evening to our discussion, Jonali. And it's great to know that you bring so many years of experience with you into this sector, that is the handloom sector, and of course that you hail from Northeast. Well, that is itself a big thing because Northeast is the hub of the handlooms in India, and it's only in the Northeast, I think, where mostly it is the women who do the weaving or the designing or the crafting, everything. And so that is why I'm going to start my question with what makes Assam handloom unique? Because I think actually it is unique. You talk about the design,
Yes,
the vibrancy and everything.
yes, sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Raha, and very privileged to be on this forum today, organized by Sustainaverse and anchored by you. You are, in yourself, you're a leading icon of many of the sustainable practices and academics. And so I'm very happy to be here and sharing a little of what I know and what I have been also doing over the last few years. So, yes, to your question about what makes Assam Handloom special, and you've already given a very beautiful sort of segue into it. And that I would like to just sort of start off saying that I have coined a term for Assam Handloom that is 5S. Okay, so 5S stands for there are three silks which are exclusive to the region, and there is sustainable practice, which is because of the handloom practice done solely in the particular ecosystem at homes. And the fifth S is a she, the woman who essentially has been anchoring the complete handloom activity right from reeling or spinning the silk and or cotton and weaving it to finishing it and then selling it. So Assam is home to two of the world's rarest silks. I'm coming to the 3S part that I just talked about a while ago. So the three silks that are unique to Assam are the Muga, which is the rarest silk of them all, and it is only cultivable in Assam because of its unique climatic conditions. The second is Eri silk, which is which Assam accounts for 65% of production. Third is mulberry, which is a rare one of the variations of mulberry silk, which is called the Nunipat, which is also cultivated in the plants on which the silkworms feed are cultivated only in Assam, and therefore these are the three silks. And then there is the woman who literally, practices weaving and rearing and spinning of thread as a cultural practice, has been doing so for centuries. And the practice goes on from the mother to the daughter, and that's how the culture has been sort of shaped and is continuing. And the fifth one that I mentioned about is about the practices, all of these practices of doing it at home, in a home setting, with silk that is cultivated in your backyard or in the forest, and everything that the women takes care of is all within a very sustainable ecosystem. So this is the specialty of Assam handlooms.
How important is this handloom sector to the economy of Assam? In at present, let's talk about the present only, forget about the past. So at this moment, is handloom a really very important part or in the economy of Assam? Or do we need handlooms if we think about Assam marching forward?
Yes. Oh, yes. The handloom sector is very, very important to Assam. It has a significant contribution to the GDP of Assam. It has the highest number of Assam has the highest number of looms, looms. That is the whether it is the more ancient looms to the more modern looms, etc. There is about 12.5 lakh looms that are there in Assam, and is the highest concentration of looms anywhere in the country. And there is also, therefore, an equivalent number of weavers, about 13 lakhs, and of which 90% is women. So that's how, the relevance of the weaving practice, and all these weavers are contributing directly to the economy of the state, in terms of not only weaving but also creating the silks. And sometimes silk yarns are also directly exported outside. Sometimes the woven products are directly sort of sold outside the state, within the country as well as outside the country. So that all of this makes handloom the second highest employment generating activity in Assam, next to agriculture. And I think this is pretty much for the rest of India as well. But in Assam, this directly correlates to, kind of the economic activities in a very strong way.
So it indirectly relates to women empowerment too, because if it is
Yeah.
fully run or mostly run by the women, then of course you empower a woman each time
Yeah.
a loom gets into the market. Uh,
Yes.
could you just throw some light on Muga, the golden thread of Assam as it is known, for the uninitiated, because Muga is
Yes.
available only in Assam.
Yes. So the Muga silk thread is Assam's pride, and it has earned Assam the geographical indication tag. And it is silk which really finds mention as long back as the Vedas. So there are references to it in the scriptures. So which means it has been around from that those ancient times till today, is as relevant. Over the centuries and over the ages, it has always enjoyed a special position as an extremely important kind of activity, and especially the golden nature of the silk is a very, very has a special appeal, and has been gifted by kings to other kings over a period of time, and till today, where it enjoys an exalted position in the sort of the ladder of silks and handlooms. So why is Muga only exclusive to Assam? If we look at what it is really, Muga is a silk, which means it's a protein. It's a filament. It's essentially something that is secreted by the worms that feed on the leaves of particular plants that are very, very that can only grow in Assam because of its unique humid conditions, climatic conditions. And then there are several such plants that grow in Assam's forests, and they all produce slightly different variations of Muga silk. Some are more glossy, some are stronger, some are thicker, some are thinner. So essentially, this is what, Muga sort of, why Muga is only grown or cultivated in Assam, or can only be produced in Assam, is because of this reason. And the Muga silk is a naturally golden silk. It doesn't need to be dyed. And I think maybe people have tried, but there was no need to, because the golden sheen itself, is I think what anybody would have wanted, because that is itself a very, very beautiful sheen. Also, Muga is extremely strong. It's said that Muga threads were used in parachutes. It's got a very high tensile strength, and so that's from a technical perspective. From the perspective of apparel, Muga sort of, it's said, and of course I have experienced it as well, because I have something from my mother that I've inherited, a Muga Mekhela, which only, the sheen only increases over time. And it's definitely a heirloom that needs to be there, or should be there, in every Assamese woman's wardrobe. And it holds a very cultural significance, as well as it is a luxurious silk for today's contemporary sari wearer. And yes, I mean, like they say, a Muga sari is worth its weight in gold. So that's something that I wanted to just share about Muga silk. As of the 2021 census, Assam produced 167 metric tons of Muga silk only, compared to around 20,000 to 30,000 metric tons of mulberry production that happens in India, or more. So now it has probably increased. And so you can see how less it is, only 167 tons. And therefore, Muga is always in high demand. And, of course, it is something that cannot be just produced overnight. It has its own cycle. It has to be done with great patience, which the women and men have learned over a period of time. The silkworms are reared under very strict conditions in what is called as sumoni, which is a farm, and they are monitored. And then when the silk filament is reeled, it is taken, high degree of care has to be taken to ensure that it reels well, and then it can be woven right. So yes, it is a labor of love and patience, and also it sort of manifests that way into a sari or a Mekhela Chador.
Definitely, when something is rare in the market, the prices shoot up. So a piece of Muga, they say, it's as costly almost as gold right now. It is really costly, but
Yes.
it's worth having. It is worth
Yes.
its value in gold right
Yes.
now. So every woman in Assam always prides herself in possessing the number of Muga pieces she has
Yes.
in her wardrobe, isn't it?
Yes.
But
That's
could
so
you
true.
just tell me any particular reason? Like you said, the production level had gone down compared to parts. So, was there any particular reason?
Um, well, I can't say whether it has gone down compared to past. I
Mm.
think, I mean, of course, I have been in touch with Central Silk Board here in Bangalore as well. I'm based in Bangalore, and I've had many interactions with the Central Silk Board officials. So, first of all, it cannot be sort of the plantations of the plant that the worms feed on is not, from what I understand from them, and I'm just quoting them, it's not from my own lived experience, is that it is not possible to grow in great numbers, the plants. And where the plants are, the worms thrive, right? So, and they also did try to, replicate this in other states of India, wherever similar conditions, not exactly similar, but something similar was there, but they were not able to replicate that. And therefore, I think to stay back in Assam itself. And yes, it does require a unique, ecological balance and a climatic condition, the right temperature, and the right soil and all of that, and of course rainfall, to ensure that the plants grow and thrive. And that's what makes it, of a particular volume of Muga silk.
Right. Before I pass it on to Shumona for her questions, I would just like to ask you, Jonali, what made you come to this sector? Why handlooms? Why did you choose this handloom sector?
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, like they say, and Steve Jobs said this, right? You can only sort of connect the dots when by going backward, right? You can't predict that you're going to go in a particular way. So I don't know where and how it started to have a particular interest in me, that why, why should I look at this sector? Because I was well entrenched in a particular corporate workplace, and a particular domain, etc. But I began to think that I began to look at the skill versus value, sort of a imbalance in the larger ecosystem. And I found that there is a high degree of skill with many other people who did not come through a formal education system like us. And while we have reaped the benefits and got an advantage, or sort of just went into the direction that it was supposed to be, and that's how we sort of got into jobs, etc., and understood what it is like at a larger level, at the global level, in terms of jobs and opportunities. But other people, and I'm not just talking about handloom sector, it's across many other sectors where there is huge amount of talent and skill, but there isn't a right matching of opportunities and a right matching of nurturing, right? So I then looked at, okay, what really connects many dots for me. I see that, okay, I come from Assam. I was wearing quite a few of our own, weaves and saris and mekhela chadors to work, and people appreciated them, my colleagues and friends, and then they wanted some, and then I used to get for them. Then I began to think, why is it that it's not available outside? Why isn't it available in a mainstream store? Why isn't that I don't find it in a Nalli, or there are many stores here in Bangalore, well established, or maybe even, let's say, in Bengal or Kolkata. Why is it that Asmi's weaves are not available? So it pointed to quite a few things. One is that the saris were not a kind of a mainstream sort of a apparel production or a garment production in Assam, and even the other things like Mekhela Chador is a slightly different kind of a sari, which is probably was not very, did not have a high degree of awareness. So I felt that, okay, can we port the skill and the textile craft of a Mekhela Chador or a gamuza onto a sari? And for that we'll have to make some interventions. So it was also done from the lens of a wearer. So I felt, why should a sari wearer be deprived of Assam and Northeast textile crafts, where there are so many beautiful motifs, there is a different textile craft, there are different silks. And that's how my journey began, with that realization, actually with both of them, that how about matching the skills of the women to an opportunity, and how about letting other women experience the weaves of Assam. And that's how it started. And I think at a more emotional level, or even at another level, let's say I've seen my mother weave, and so of course that was not the only thing she did. She was a teacher, but I know that she had woven a lot of mekhela chadors and gamuchas, and I felt I had an emotional connection, and I think that also translated that how can we marry both, right? The skill and the need for a different kind of a aesthetic of sari.
Beautiful, beautifully put, and I'm so mesmerized, as I'm always mesmerized by the weaves of Assam, because I also hail from Assam. So I always
No, you
feel the
do.
vibrancy, in the weaves and the motifs that come from the clothes there is really unmatched. So, Shumona, are you ready to take up the next segment of questions? Because I think I have, bombarded with many questions from my side.
No, thank you
Yes.
so much, Dr. Sharmista. It was a pleasure
Yeah.
to answer your questions.
Thank you so much for being with us this evening, actually.
Sure.
Thank you, Jonali, and thank you, Dr. Raha, too. And this is so lovely, this conversation. I'm sitting with a notebook as usual to
Mm,
note down what you're saying. But I have a follow up question before I go to the sustainability part. Like you said, that you're trying to take the idea of a Mekhela Chador to a sari. I hear another Manipuri brand and some Assamese brand also saying that because sari is so common, why don't we try to replicate that in a sari? But what do you think about bringing Mekhela Chador as it is to the mainstream market, like a new kind of an apparel?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is always there, and that actually was the starting point. And Mekhela Chadors have been around. It is a very unique piece of clothing. It's a very versatile sort of a sari, if I may put it. It's two-piece, so you can also mix and match. And many people are absolutely, thrilled about. Many sari wearers are thrilled about that prospect that you can wear a chador differently and a mekhla differently. When you put it together, it looks exactly like a sari, and I've done that many times. It's very interesting, it's very fun, and it's also very it can be classy, or it can be sort of very bohemian, as you would like it. It gives different vibes in different occasions and different types. To your question, yes, definitely it can be focused on just as a garment on its own, right? And I mean, that's absolutely doable, possible. It's just about the scale. I mean, so the question is, how many women would be able to wear that, and how many women would be okay to wear that in the way that it is, because it's a little different, and there isn't a whole lot of awareness around it. So I think as awareness builds, and people know more about it and how to wear it, then they'll be more welcome. So it was just the ease of getting, the consciousness of uh, the Assamese weaves through a sari as a medium. So the medium was the sari, but it could also be the mekhla chador. But today maybe it's a little more ripe than it was 12 years ago, because I mean, social media educates you on so many things. So I think it's a good time to do that. Yes.
Thank you for that. I'm so happy to hear. Now, coming to the sustainability part, I think when you said that handloom is the second largest economy after agriculture in most parts of the country, that
Mm.
kind of takes care of the one side of the sustainability part. But given what fast fashion has spread, that you need so much of production, you need overconsumption to survive. That's apparently what a market should look like. How do you think handlooms can, I'm not saying match, but can break down that kind of a false narrative?
Yeah. So I think, the definitely fast fashion and slow fashion, as the fashion with handloom clothing is, you know they are, we normally talk about them. We do, it's normally talked about. We have kind of insights into both, but I feel that they're two different things. Yes, they're both fashion, but fast fashion is built on a completely different structure, and slow fashion is on a completely different structure. The values, the structural sort of components are totally different. So fast fashion is all about volume, right? It's all about trends. It's all about how fast, how soon. And it is capital intensive, right? You need to set up certain machines, inventory, etc., at one time in order to produce so much, and then you go and sort of you have to sell those, and so you need to have trends and and sort of styles and silhouettes, which all of which have to keep changing in order to be able to get that narrative out there. And so that has its own world. Slow fashion is a completely different philosophy altogether. So I feel that there are two different target segments for these two, approaches. So slow fashion is all about labor intensive. It's all about who has worked on this, how it has come to be, how, what kind of a practice has sort of been implemented in this particular apparel or garment or a sari? When does that date from? What does it do to you? So there are different values and different features and benefits, if I were to put in a marketer's language, for a fast fashion and a slow fashion. So fast fashion has a different target segment, and slow fashion has a different target segment, and both have their uh, worlds differently. But what is important is to do is have them both retain their own, as in, I'm not saying that fast fashion has to grow. I feel that it is definitely a impediment to keeping the sustainability in check. Definitely, I think all of us know that there is no two ways about it. I mean, fast fashion is one of the greatest polluters of the world, second only to shipping, as I know. And therefore, I feel that it has to be looked at with a particular lens, both by the consumers who are aware and by the policymakers who also should be are aware, but has to also take action, right, about how to sort of popularize it, or how to incentivize it, or why not to incentivize it, as opposed to slow fashion and handloom, where it ticks so many boxes. It provides employment to so many people. It keeps a particular craft alive. It promotes sustainability and the ecological balance of a particular geography. And definitely, it also, I would believe, as a practitioner in this sector, also helps the wearer in several ways. I feel, in I have been wearing handloom, and I'm sure all of us have. I feel that it actually does regulate you as emotionally and otherwise. It grounds you. It makes you, sort of more than just a garment, right? It sort of has other values because it has been shaped by human hands. So the energy of that, passes on to the wearer as well. So, both from that perspective as well as from every other perspective, I feel that slow fashion is the need of the hour. Also, because let me just talk about something which everybody wants to talk about, which is the threat of AI. So I know we are all talking about it. So AI is anyway taking away jobs and are going to take away more jobs from the tech sector. And I think it's all the more imperative that we at least in this sector where there are already humans doing a better job, let this sort of be nurtured, let this be incentivized by the policymakers, let this have its own place under the sun in a much bigger way. I feel that can be improved upon, and it also saves the economy, it saves the earth, and yeah, it does everything. All the boxes are ticked.
And since you work with artisans, you work on artisanal empowerment, you have been doing that for so many years, and you have also worked in policy making. So, what is the current scenario in India in terms of government help and schemes for the development of Assamese artisans?
Well, so there are schemes that the central government has in place, and then there are the schemes that the state government has in place for weavers, right? So there are certain schemes which I think we are all aware of, which is the sort of certain loans that women can sort of avail of. Then there are the sort of yarn banks and kind of support in terms of from the local handloom, directorate of handloom, etc. That is there from the government side. So there are, and looms, of course, looms, the fly shuttle looms are provided to women weavers. All of that is, that is there, but sometimes availing of all of this in the right way is often a problem. So there needs to be someone to translate the benefit provided by the government to the end artisan. And for that, yes, we do have certain civil society organizations who support with that. There are people like us who have worked with that as well and supported. But I think it's also about the market, because the work is only there as much as the market is there, right? Because otherwise, women, of course, they love to do it, but if there's no market, then they will do, in a way that they have been doing all these centuries, which is weave for themselves. But if you want it to be economically fruitful and beneficial, then the market support has to be provided. And also certain policies that we just talked about, which is in terms of how to differentiate a handloom from a power loom, or how to not incentivize power looms in a way that it aids into a handloom market. That kind of a lens also has to be worn by policymakers, because yes, while we say it should be done, people should wear more handloom, there is also definitely an angle of the price, because of the sheer number of hours that a weaver has had to put into that to make it. Like I'm wearing something that has taken like 45 days to weave, right? Now it definitely is not affordable for everybody, that's for sure, but whoever it is affordable for, are they all able to access it? So can we also support the market side in a way that is creating more opportunities for the weavers? And also things like designs, and colors, yarns, etc. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that I guess the government can do. I mean, when we started working in 2012, one of the main things was how to not work with synthetic yarn, because the synthetic yarn was so prevalent because of the fact that they do not run color. And many of these villages, they don't have access to high quality cotton yarn, obviously, because not all states or all places sort of work with kind of dyeing in with the same sort of competence. So there was a certain level of dyeing that was not working well for the consumers. It used to run colors, so they used to use synthetic cottons. And so we had to first dismantle that structure, not using synthetic cotton. So if that is where, those are the areas that government can step in and provide more yarns at a local village level or a block level, then women have no problem in accessing those yarns. Yeah, so these are just a few things that I wanted to share.
Thank you so much. Thanks always for communicating this so well. Dr. Raha or Kostab, if you have any more questions to ask Jonali.
I would just mention this because while she was talking, I could feel that there is always an emotional attachment with a piece of handloom cloth, whatever that might be. Because right now, yesterday only I was wearing a kurta, which is made from a piece from Assam, woven in Assam. So the kurta is actually worn off because the color has faded. But then when I looked at it and thought that it should go out of my cupboard now, then I looked at the lower part and the beautiful border was there. And I thought, no, this cannot go out of the cupboard because it has to stay somewhere or the other. So I would
Yeah.
be thinking, how to use that piece of border. So that is the attachment I think you have with a piece of cloth woven in the loom, whatever that might be. So yes, I mean, handloom is an emotion. That's what Bapadita was telling. Remember, Shimona, in our last discussion, it's an emotion actually, more than a
Yes,
piece of cloth. It's an emotion.
it is. I totally relate to you, because I was doing the same thing just a few days ago. And I felt that, okay, I think I've worn this enough, and now it can, I can, donate or whatever. Then I thought, no, maybe I can make a nice blouse of it. So it hasn't left the cupboard, in spite of several of my attempts to. So I totally agree and to that. And yes, I think any kind of wood handloom, like you feel like it has so much more value just than the fabric. So that's one other thing that now that you mention, I forgot about mentioning it. I feel that all the value of a handloom, and especially now in the context of the fast fashion question that you asked, Shimona, it is not just the fabric that you wear. It's not just the garment that you wear. You actually are also contributing to the continuation of that for the years to come. So it is more than just a piece of clothing, either for just as a piece of garment or to wear as a statement piece, but it's just more than that. You are actually investing in its future, and that's the part of that's a part that you can't claim fast fashion does. I mean, not at all. It's very far from that. But that, I think, is something that all wearers, all consumers of slow fashion have to acknowledge and have to be patted in the back that they are all contributing to that. And that's a single additional value that no other kind of machine-made clothing can contribute to.
Absolutely. Very true. Very true.
Thank you. I'll just introduce Kaustav. Even if you don't have a question, I want to just appreciate that he has joined, because he's an engineer. He is working in the electronics industry right now. And he's always interested in learning new things. Whether I do space stuff or handlooms, anything we'll do, he'll join a discussion, he'll learn something, he'll think about it. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Kaustav, for joining.
Thank you, ma'am.
And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
No, ma'am, no question.
Okay. Kaustav is totally mesmerized, I think, by the. Okay. One more question, Jonali. How do you think handloom is placed in the entire northeastern part of India? Because handloom is one of the major states in the northeastern part. Each state has its own weave. Not only each state, each tribe there residing in every nook and corner have their own motifs, their own designs, and their own kind of weaving and all. So how is it placed right now? So what role does handloom still have in the economic say? And do you think that handloom is going to be one of the mainstays in the days to come, or it's going to be taken over by something else? What about the youngsters joining in and coming in? What is the scenario like?
Yeah, such a great question. Yeah, so I think handloom, especially from what I've observed in the Northeast, and let me also talk specifically about Assam, it's quite sort of entrenched in everyday life. Of course, the so many brands, so many different type of clothing, and so many sort of access to so many other global brands and silhouettes and styles and so many other. But if there is a particular occasion, women definitely will wear only the Mekhela Chador, and which is only manufactured there. So that's one thing I really have thought about for quite some time, and speaking only about Assam right now, is that on that count, the handloom will never play second fiddle in especially the wedding and occasion wear to any other fabric. It is going to be very rooted to a particular way where the bride has to dress, and the bridesmaids have to dress, and the guests have to dress, and it has to be a Mekhela Chador with this kind of in this silk or in this way or whatever. So I think that will always be there, occasion wear. So we talked about Muga a little while ago, right? So Muga is silk that is typically worn, of course, in weddings, but also 100% for cultural events. You have to absolutely, be dressed in a Muga for certain cultural events like the Bihu festival and, few other occasions. So to your specific question, I think handloom is always there to stay. And it's also getting contemporized in a few other ways, like obviously some garments, some kurtas, etc. But the traditional form of Mekhela Chador for Assamese women is always going to stay. And now, as I just explained, that this aesthetic is also embraced by other sari wearers across the world. So that is also going to be there, because it's a particular, kind of way the weave comes across, and the motives that the local craftsmanship sort of produces. I think those will have the unique place. Now, talking about the other northeastern states, or about other tribes, there are so many tribes, and yes, Northeast is literally a gene pool. There's a tribe every few hundred meters, and with their unique weaving practices and food, etc. So all of those are very important from a cultural perspective. From an economic production perspective, I think it's also about whether there is an intervention, if there is an entrepreneur who's working on that and taking the, that wear or that local dress form and contemporizing it, or giving it a slightly different flavor and taking it outside, then of course from an economic perspective also it is going to grow. So culturally it is already there, and economically it has more potential, is how I would like to put it.
Thank you so much. I mean, you've put it so nicely. In fact, you talk so well. I mean, you've explained every question we had in a very nice and organized manner. I mean, totally taken away by the way you answered all the queries and questions we have. Shimon, anything else you have to ask? Anything else in your mind?
Well, lots of things, but I think for today it will be enough because I keep asking her so many questions. So but thank you so much. Again, I think I am becoming your total fan now. Just the way she's done so much work on this and the way she talks, it just proves that
Yes,
she
she's put
works on.
across very nicely, everything in a very nice, organized manner. It'll be very easy for anyone listening to this later on to understand,
Yeah.
Everything's been put very nicely. It's just plain black and white kind of a thing.
Yeah,
So
thank
before we
you.
wrap it up, I mean, I would like to wish everyone a very happy Valentine's Day today.
Yes.
So let this message of love be there amongst us and within us and around us, all around. And let
Yes.
this percolate into the handloom sector too, so that we put in more love into that particular aspect, because handloom
Yes.
is a way of life. So it's a part of our life. So that love percolate into that part of our life, so that it remains with us. And as long as we are there, so let the handlooms also be a part of us. I mean, that's the wish I can have. Jonali, you have anything special to say because on his Valentine's Day today?
No, absolutely. I thought it was a great coincidence when Sumana, you first communicated about the date. I'm like, wow, this is a perfect date to talk about, the handloom. And yes, so I think handloom is kind of a great way to express love in many ways of course, for the beautiful craft, for the textile practice, and the way it looks on you, and the way it makes you feel, which I feel very strongly about. I think it's just not a sari or a garment. It actually makes you feel a little different. And I've experienced it myself, so I can only talk about myself. And then, of course, the love in terms of the environment, what it does, right? I mean, today I know it's a talk of the town if we are all talking about sustainability and ecological balance. But today, I think it's a little closer to reality. But I think in some time, in a few years, it will be right there, looming over our heads. And today, if we don't act, then there will be something waiting to happen. And I think we absolutely need to do more of this. And it's not just one thing, the whole thing is actually a system. So like we just discussed, it's not only the preservation, it's also the way it reaches customers. It's also about the awareness with which it reaches them. It is also about the policy interventions, which makes it easier for customers to embrace in their own lives, about the weavers who can make it better, and access better yarns and better infrastructure. So it's really a complete system which needs to be looked into. It's not just one single lens. There are multiple lenses. And also about the cultivation, like you have talked about, why Muga is so limited. So, it's not just weaving, it's also about where the silk comes from. Why isn't it more? Or how, can we retain the same quantity? So I think that lens, and therefore it's a discussion for a system level discussion. It's not just between a maker and a wearer. It's about a complete system. It's also the environmentalist concern. It's also media's concern. It should be a policymaker's concern. It's also definitely the consumers already there, and the weaver, the manufacturer is already there. But everybody has to come together. So I feel that kind of a consciousness has to be there. And I say this because I had told you, Shumona, right, that I was leading a research for how to increase, women's participation in the workforce in India. how to make it from the current 33% to 70%, let's say by 2047, when we complete 100 years of independence. But we just can't do it alone. No one can do it alone. It has to be a complete system participation, and all these various archetypes of people have to work together. So there needs to be more kind of discussions and more implementations, more experiments, more people to fund this, more people to look into the media and the awareness building. So that's something that I feel, we are at, that is a need of the hour. A complete system orchestration is required to take it to the next stage.
Rightly put, and I think that's just the right note to wrap up this very interesting and beautiful session we had this on this special day. Thank you, Jonali, so much for being with us this evening. Thank you, Sumana, for organizing the entire thing. And thank you, Costa, for being here with us and patiently listening through to the entire the discussion we had this evening.